So, Helen, nice to see you, albeit only on Zoom. Tell us about your start in life. Where were you born, and did you have musical parents? What's the situation there?
Mhm. Yeah, so I'm from Hertfordshire, from Harpenden,
Mhm.
and my dad is a harpsichordist. So I grew up in a house full of keyboard instruments, which is pretty wonderful. It's still very full of keyboard instruments. Yeah, which is wonderful. And I learnt the piano and the violin as a child. But we were really lucky that St Albans Cathedral is kind of 5 miles away
Yeah.
from where I grew up, and I was a chorister when I was a child. So I learnt all my singing there and kind of got the bug.
Yeah. So that was, did you decided there that this is something you actually wanted to make your living from?
Yeah, I think so. I certainly had, maybe I hadn't thought about it quite so, clearly, but
Yeah.
I knew that I didn't want to not do it.
Mm.
So it became very clear to me that I got a huge amount of value out of doing something at quite a high level. And I wanted to see how far I could go.
So how did you start training yourself and your voice to do that?
Ooh, well, I just sort of carried on singing forever. So when I left the cathedral, I carried on at my local state school. Had a great time. There were lots of amazing, numbers of choirs. I did bits of directing and that kind of stuff.
Oh,
Loads of things that I could do, which was really fun. And then I went to university. I went to Cambridge University, and I was a choral scholar at Trinity College. And I
right.
was there for 4 years and did a huge amount of singing under the director of Stephen Layton, who runs the choir there, and lots of student opera, student concerts. Just, I mean, it's an extraordinary place. You can do a concert every hour if you want, really. So.
Yeah. Always has been, or ever since my
Yeah.
time. Yeah. So is that where the operatic thing started? I mean, had you done operatic things before that, or when did that?
No, that was my first kind of insight into it all. The University Opera Society. There was a lot going on, particularly in the years I was there. There was something like 4 or 5 operas a year, which kind of in hindsight seems crazy.
Yeah.
But I did as many as I could.
But things are crazy at uni, and that's the way it
Yeah,
should
yeah, yeah.
remain. That's important. Yeah.
Exactly. You just do and you don't question.
Exactly. So okay, you left Cambridge. What happened then?
So I left Cambridge and I took a few years out and just started seeing where the singing would go, really. So I auditioned to quite a lot of people, and found myself doing lots of work, which was really exciting. And I had a place to go to the Guildhall, and I ended up not going in the end. And I carried on learning with my teacher, Gary Coward, and kind of that's the rest is history, as you say. I've kind of been working since I left Trinity in 2015. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty fabulous. And have you joined Le Jardin des Voir, the Art Florissant Academy, I suppose it is, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So I started on that in the summer this year. So we started in August. We're doing Parthenope by Handel, which is great fun. It's a 6-person opera, so it's perfect for that kind of small academy, which is fantastic. And I'm playing the character Rosmira, who spends her whole time dressed up, pretending to be a prince, trying to catch
It's a
Arsace, her
trouser
lover,
roll.
out.
There you go. It's a trouser roll.
Exactly.
If you're a mezzo soprano, then that's what you get. That's the life, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, it is.
And is
Sure.
Bill Christie involved with that at all?
Yeah, he is. He's conducting the performances.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so he and Paul Agnew have been working on it with us.
So
Yeah.
we haven't mentioned the last 18 months. What happened to you over the last 18 months?
I mean, much like everyone else, the diary kind of everything went upside down. I lost a lot of work. It's a strange time of year because in March everything is about to hot up. I spend a lot of my time singing John and Matthew Passions at Easter, so that was particularly terrifying because I hadn't done much work in January and February. So it was a kind of that was a huge kind of terrifying experience. But we've come out the other side, and the work is coming up again. I was able to spend a bit of time and energy. I've done a lot of practice, which has been great, but also kind of cultivating some of my own ideas, which has been really fun. And I ended up recording a CD of songs that I commissioned during lockdown, called the Isolation Songbook. So it's become a really positive creative time for me. Yeah.
Not all bad. And I'd better mention that you're a Radio 3 New Generation artist, because otherwise I
am.
should probably be killed.
Me too, so it's good.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just started. You started in September for that?
Yeah, exactly. So I've got my first lot of doing my first lot of studio sessions, in fact, in a few weeks' time, working with Kunal Lahiri on the piano. So yeah, it's great. So there's lots of exciting things coming up.
Brilliant. And you know, given this is theory rather than practice, but given a tailwind and no more pandemics or whatever over the next decade, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Where would you like to see yourself in 10 years? And what do you think The Voice will be doing?
It's the $1 million question, isn't it? I think most importantly, I want to be making really great music and letting my voice be the best that it possibly can be. So following, and for me, like following where the voice wants to go is quite important, and exploring that. I have a feeling I'm going to spend quite a lot of the next 10 years doing lots of Handel roles. I think that's an area of my well, it's something I really love, but it's also, there's a lot for mezzos, which is very exciting, and things like singing Dido, so quite a lot of Baroque music for sure, over the next 5 to 10 years. But also, I mean, I love singing song more than anything else, really, and just to be able to kind of run away with that over the next period of time would be completely fantastic for me, and I really hope that might happen.
It's so important for a singer, that, isn't it, actually, to be able to encapsulate something in a small, we hope perfectly formed little number, and with that close contact with an audience too. I mean, you've got there's no grease paint, there's no lights to speak of, and you can each see the whites of each other's eyes. I think it's so important.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's been highlighted by what we've missed over the last 18 months as well. You know, those experiences of coming back to that intimacy with an audience has just been, I mean, it's the whole point, isn't it? And it's wonderful.
It is the whole point for everybody, that the sacred trinity, really, of composer, performer and audience. And if you know, let's look at your programs for the Ferrier. And no Handel in the semi-finals, so that's a black mark already, obviously.
Well, it was Handel in the first round. You see, you've got to spread them out.
But actually, you start with a spot of Rossini. Tell us about the Italian Girl in Algiers.
Yes, this is a wonderful aria so Isabella arrives, she's been shipwrecked, and the ship gets taken over by pirates, of course. Cool. And it's this it's a real aria of resolve. So it starts with a moment of kind of, oh my goodness, everything has gone wrong. I'm looking for Lindoro, my true love, and I'm completely destroyed on this island, except that she knows that whatever she does, she will be in control, and she's able to wile her way out of the situation and really get the best of these pirates that have taken over her ship. So it's immensely fun to sing this Rossini aria. It's got all sides of drama, so really, really melodramatic, and then immensely fun and fireworky and flirty at the end. It's very good.
You've sold it to us, I think. So, and then one of the composers who I think deserves to be coming up in the world finally, her husband even having not really helped, and that's Clara Schumann. Stand in Duncan, Tymon. Tell us a little about that.
Oh, it's a beautiful song. It's a very short song. It's just about 2 minutes long. I think 2 minutes exactly. Yep. And it's all about memory and about that kind of idealization of someone you used to love. That's when you see their image and you still have that connection with them. And there is sadness at the end of this song, that the realization that you did lose them, and maybe they were the one, maybe that loss is never going to be overcome. But it's immensely beautiful, and the opening piano first 4 bars are just, I think, like the perfect way to start a song. It just kind of emerges out of the darkness. It's completely beautiful.
Glorious. Then something very new. Nature is Returning, Joshua Borin. I don't know this, so tell me about it.
That's fine. This was written last year, so in 2020, and it's actually one of the songs in the Isolation Songbook that I commissioned. So it's specifically written for me, which is really nice. A real joy. Joshua Borin, and the poet Sophie Rashbrook got together on this to set. Sophie wrote a fantastic poem. It's all about her government-mandated daily walks, if you remember, all the way back to sort of May 2020, June 2020, and how she's exploring her local area. And at the same time as exploring her local area, she discovers that nature might be creeping into her house a little bit more than she likes. No spoilers there, but there's a wonderful dichotomy with the beauty of outside and all these birds that she hasn't seen before, and something creeping into her house that she doesn't want to be there.
Fabulous. And some Bach to finish your semi program.
Yeah, the Agnus Dei from the B minor Mass, which is just a truly special piece for me, one that I have the joy of singing a lot, and I think it's just beautiful. It's so joyful to sing. It's kind of one of those pieces where sometimes people say that Bach wrote for instrumentalists, not for voices, but I would always argue that the Agnus Dei is the time when I say, "Nuh-uh, this is for singers," and it's completely wonderful.
Yes, I was talking with somebody else about a Bach aria, and we were saying he just doesn't give you time to breathe. But hopefully, this is the exception that proves the rule.
I think it's the exception that proves the rule. Yeah.
We look forward to that. So Rossini, Clara Schumann, Joshua Borin, and Bach in your semi-final program. The final we will get to handle, but we start with Brahms, Im Leise wird mein Schlummer. So a lullaby.
Yeah, a lullaby with a tinge of death, I'm afraid.
Yes.
Death and loss. But there's huge redemption at the end of this song. It's in C sharp minor, and it ends up in D flat major, which is kind of not what you'd expect from a song, kind of effectively staying in the same key, but moving from the minor into the major. And yeah, it is a lullaby, but it's a lullaby of death, of loss, of that realization that you won't kiss that person you love again, but also that dreams allow them to come back to life. And so you're able to turn in your sleep to those people that you've lost.
From Brahms to Finzi, As I Lay in the Early Sun.
Yeah.
Short song, but nonetheless wonderful.
Yeah, another very short song. This is true. It's a beautiful, beautiful song from a larger set of songs. Oh, Fair to See is the cycle, his opus 13, I think. And yeah, it's a song that I've done the whole cycle quite a lot, and this is the third song in the cycle, and I always come back to it. I find myself thinking about it a lot, and it's got that feeling of lying in the grass looking at the sky with the clouds floating by, a bit like Feldheims am Kite by Brahms, if you know that song as well. Yeah. It's got this kind of amazing sensation that I think is a universal experience, that sometimes you just lie back and you feel, and somehow Finzi is able to put that. Yeah, exactly. He's been able to put that into music. I think it's really, really wonderful.
Who's the poet for the Finzi?
I knew you were going to ask that, and I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm just doing it to put people on the spot, really. So fine, and I don't know either. I haven't looked it up, so we'll just
get the score out. But I can't remember off the top of my head.
Do not worry. Do not worry. And then you're going to Semele, which I remember doing at Cambridge. I don't know whether you guys did, but anyway. Hence Iris, hence away from Semele, which is, I would think, would suit you down to the absolute.
Yeah, I mean, this is your archetypal vengeance aria, which I got to say, I love.
Nothing like a bit of vengeance.
Exactly, nothing like a bit of vengeance. So it's sung by Juno. Semele is amazing in terms of the story. You have the whole of the first act is all about, will Semele marry Athamas or not? Or is Jupiter going to appear and be like, hey, Semele, come and live with me? And eventually Jupiter does appear and takes Semele off to up to the top of a mountain. And, they're having a lovely time together. And then Act 2, you meet Juno, who is Jupiter's wife, and she is immensely annoyed by this situation and has discovered, of course, as you would be, let's be honest, and has discovered that, so Iris, her little minion, has said that Semele is up at the top of the mountain, but guarded by dragons. So it's going to be quite hard to get to her. So this aria appears at the point where she's formulated a plan, basically. So she's going, fine, off we go. We're going to go and find Somnus, who can cast a spell so that the dragons can go to sleep. so that I can begin my evil plan.
You realise it's quite Wagnerian, this, isn't it? I mean, it's sort of, it's Wotan and Fricke and Loga and people, really.
Exactly.
It's, yeah.
All similar stories, reusing of those wonderful tales,
and then a Shostakovich song that I don't know, but it has the intriguing title of To My Verses.
Yeah, so this is the first song of 6, which is 6 poems by Marina Tsevetea, and they are, well, she is talking about her own poetry in this song.
Yes.
So the idea that there are all of these ideas bubbling out of her. There's this amazing phrase that she talks about the lines of her poetry are trying to erupt out of her like sparks and fireworks, which I think is really wonderful. But written in a time when there's huge censorship in Russia. So these are hidden poems. And so there's this idea that she's aware of this kind of, she's writing about this censorship and that she wants to be able to say these things, but that they have to be hidden under the surface. And it starts with an amazing single line in the piano. Shostakovich also orchestrated them, which is played by a cello in the orchestration. And it's just, it's spooky and kind of completely dramatic, but very, very intimate.
Perhaps not quite so intimate, at least not in the same way, is your final, the big finish, which is a spot of Delilah from Samson. Why that?
Yeah.
Well, can't not really, can you?
I mean, that's the thing, you can't not. It's funny, actually, you were saying earlier about, as a mezzo, you do trouser rolls. I've just realised that neither of these 2 programmes, have trouser rolls in them, which for me is very unusual. There was in the first round, so maybe I can get away with that. But I mean, this is an amazing aria. It's actually a wonderful standalone piece as well, and so it works really well in this context, that it is like a song in its own right. And here Delilah is seducing Samson and using her voice to seduce him. And so I think it's a really exciting way to finish the program and to be able to enjoy something that is just so joyful to sing. It's just such a wonderful piece of music, and I don't have the chance to do this opera with orchestra for many reasons, but to be able to do it in this setting is just fantastic. And of course it doesn't end that well for Samson, and actually this is not true love. This is very much part of a plot, and Delilah is seducing him so that, well, we all know that Samson loses his strength. He loses his strength when his hair gets cut. And so this seduction is kind of the end of, kind of the beginning of the end for Samson. But it's an amazing moment. And he's just admitted that he loves her, and it's this perfect moment of intimacy, even if it's not quite real.
Yeah, let's stay with that perfect moment rather than worrying about what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Don't think about the next act. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, look forward very much to hearing you sing all that next week, Helen. And thank you very much for doing this.
No worries at all. Lovely to chat to you.